This is Viterbi Voices, your chance to hear stories about research, classes, student life, and more.
Directly from our students, faculty, and other members of our engineering community. All right here at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering.
Yes, welcome back into Viterbi Voices. This is episode
129.
129. As usual, I'm one of your hosts. My name is Paul Ledesma, Director of Undergraduate Admission here at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering.
And my name is Audrey Roberts. I'm a junior studying mechanical engineering here at USC.
And joining us is...
Hey, my name is Maddie, and I'm a senior studying electrical engineering at USC.
So, Maddie, this is your first time on the podcast. This is the first time anyone's ever heard your voice on the podcast. So why don't you tell all 12 of our listeners all about yourself?
So no pressure at all. I'm a senior. I'm studying electrical and computer engineering. I've been pretty involved too in, I guess, a couple non-engineering things. So I think one of the big things that drew me to USC was being involved in other things. So I do a lot of things with literature, like Thematic Option, and I'm an editor on a Lumen engineering magazine. And I also have had my fair share of, I guess, leadership and some of that stuff in like professional engineering orgs. I've been a part of USC, and I've also been on Spark SC for doing a little dabbling in entrepreneurship. So
very cool. Did you say where you're from? Did I miss that?
Oh, I did miss that. I'm from Bethesda, Maryland.
Bethesda, Maryland.
Yes.
Okay, so you're a senior, and you're getting ready to graduate here.
Oh, yes.
In about 6 short months here. So what's it looking like post-graduation? Do we have thoughts? Do we have a plan? Do we have ideas?
Yeah, perfect
pressure.
timing because I actually just a couple of weeks ago accepted a full-time offer. So I've been interning at Facebook actually for the past 3 summers, and then Oculus last summer, which is part of Facebook.
Right.
So I'm going to be returning full-time to the Seattle office at Facebook.
Yay!
That's awesome. Congrats.
I'm super excited. It's actually crazy timing because my mom just moved there a couple weeks ago too.
Oh,
so
my goodness.
From Maryland.
Even better. From Maryland, yeah.
Moved to Seattle. So now you're going to go take a full-time job in Seattle with Facebook.
Yep.
Do you know what you're going to be working on?
So how it works is that there will be a boot camp process. So I am not placed with a team at all right now, which is nice because there's
like
no
a
pressure.
rotational program type thing?
It's not rotational. It's like for the first, I think it's like a couple of months. I'll just basically be going through some basic training, and then I'll be able to meet with different managers and talk with different teams so I can choose a team that is a good fit, both for me and that I'm a good fit on.
Well, that's awesome. Congratulations. Very cool. And going back up to Seattle, everything comes back to Seattle, Audrey.
We've had a lot of intros that discuss Seattle, so Paul gives me a hard time.
I'm
So
just
I'm
saying
just
that
one
this
of the
season, for
many.
some reason, Seattle just keeps coming up. I'm not giving you a hard time. It's always Seattle.
Must be a good place. I guess I chose right.
It's booming up there. All right. So you are not only your first time on the podcast, but you're bringing us your own episode. Tell everyone and tell us what's this episode all about.
Yeah. So for this episode, I talked to 2 of my closest friends in engineering. They're really awesome gals. So I talked to my friends Sam and Megan, and we discuss simultaneously some extreme sports while also talking about the engineering behind them. So
Extreme sports.
Extreme sports. Well, my definition of extreme sports may be different from other people's. When I say that, I kind of mean we're talking a lot about the surf team for a good amount of the podcast. That's extreme for me. I'm not too sporty, but we also talk a little bit about rock climbing and skiing, and then even get into some extra little surprises at the end. But it's a lot of talk about the surf team and some good engineering physics conversations too. So not to,
doing cool things in the LA area, part of your USC involvement, rock climbing, surfing, what was the other one? Skiing?
Skiing, yeah.
Okay, and then the clubs and involvement here on campus and how you can do it, but also you get into the engineering of it as well?
Yeah, so we also just talk a little bit about...
naturally? Like that wasn't cute? Or did you just naturally you know what? I think we should talk about this.
Well,
just how
it's funny because parts of it I would say we're definitely like, I had a couple of planned questions because I thought we all kind of had cool perspectives. Megan and I are also in Illumin together, which is the engineering magazine I mentioned earlier. So I know we've had articles on surfing and that and the engineering behind surfing, and we've had a lot of related things. So we both figured that part of the planned stuff would get there, but also we all were kind of nerding out over it, and some of it was just spontaneous. So
I was about to say, were you just nerding out?
there's a couple moments of that, maybe more than a couple.
Well, let's get out of the way and get it straight to the nerding out on sports.
Okay, we're live. So today we are going to talk about engineering and extreme sports. So we have Sam with us from the USC surf team, and then Megan, who does a lot of climbing on the climbing team and at a local gym. So those are both some pretty intense sports. So if both of you could do some intros.
All right. My name is Sam Sendro. I'm a senior studying aerospace engineering. And my fun fact is that I live with the creator of the memes page.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
Who?
I'm cool by association.
Hi, guys. My name is Megan Anderson. I'm a senior studying electrical engineering.
What's your fun fact?
My fun fact is that I made the USC memes page, and that I live with Sam Sendro.
It's not a promo, though, right?
No.
Just to be clear.
Yeah.
Right here. Okay. So yeah, I guess first let's talk about how both of you got into your sports, and just like what made you want to join before you got to college and the history behind that, or if you joined in college.
So I started surfing in 6th grade. I remember in 5th grade finding out that my middle school had a surf team, and then coming home to tell my parents that I was going to surf, and they're like, well, we don't surf. You don't know how to surf, so what are you thinking? And I always thought it was a cool sport, and I figured that practicing a couple times a week, I would eventually pick it up. And sure enough, when I did get to middle school, I fell in love with it like the minute I stood up on a wave, and since then, it's been my main sport. Through middle school, high school, I competed, and then college, I competed a little bit in the beginning. And now I'm on the USC surf team, and it's been such a fun experience.
How was the change from the middle school, high school surf environment to coming into the college surf environment?
I'd say college is a lot more relaxed. Like at the contests, the teams will go and talk to each other, and it's just a really cool atmosphere to be around. But in middle school and high school, there were a lot of kids that wanted to go pro, and so they took it really intensely, and it just wasn't as friendly of an environment. It was fun, it was very competitive, but just very different from college.
What about you, Megan?
Yeah, so I have not been climbing since 6th grade. I've been climbing for about 6 months, and that's being generous. I started at the beginning of this summer. My roommates both climbed, and they kind of forced me to go with them one time, and it was really hard, and I was really bad. And then they forced me to go again, and I already, like, the second time can see myself becoming better. And I think that's what I've sort of really grown to like about it, is seeing myself improve both in, like, strength and endurance and just in skill, technical stuff. So I've been starting to go, like, 2 to 3 times a week, and I absolutely love it. So what I like about it is it's really social. I go with my roommates, and there's a bunch of people at climbing gyms who will talk to each other. I've noticed it's really popular with engineers. People at school talk about it a lot, and maybe I just notice it now because I climb, but like everyone who in electrical engineering talks about climbing, so I didn't know it was just such a hot thing to be doing, but it definitely is, and I meet people at the climbing gyms like from USC, from UCLA. They are also nice, unfortunately, but so I love the skill and the improvement, and I also love sort of the social aspect about it.
It's a tough sport. Gone with you a couple
times.
Sam
came with us a few weeks ago. She did pretty well, actually.
It was tough. I was sore the next day, but I had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah. So you're on, like, real boulders?
Yeah, so I haven't, like, Outdoor climbing is pretty difficult. You have to really know what you're doing and go with people who can spot you.
But you're not, like, in a harness, right?
No, so that's called top roping or lead climbing. So those are both the ones where you have a rope, and you either have a rope at the top of the climb, or you have a rope that you're, like, attaching to carabiners as you go up. So what I do is bouldering, where you don't go higher than about 15 feet. And if you fall into crash pads, and you might injure yourself, but you probably most likely won't. The worst thing you would do is, like, twist or something like that.
Okay, so that could be the engineer's version of extreme sports injury, though.
Yeah, it's pretty extreme, I guess. Yeah, there you go.
What about when you fall when you're surfing? Is that painful?
It can be if you're going really fast or if the wave hits you. And it also depends on how big the wave is, too. I'd say the scariest part's probably being held down underwater for a long time, more than the actual impact.
Do you get a bunch of currents and stuff like that?
Mm-hmm. So that also is dependent on the beach, and so like if you go to a spot a lot, then you're like more aware of where the currents are, where to paddle out, where the danger areas are. So that helps to be knowledgeable.
So what are the regular surfing spots that you have? And then
so since I've moved up to LA, I've been going to Malibu quite often. And north of Malibu in the Oxnard area, there's a good spot, and it's less crowded up that way, but it is about an hour and a half drive. If I'm trying to get out really quick, then I'll go to El Porto, which is a spot just north of Manhattan Beach, so it can easily be like a 20-minute drive.
do you like to go like early in the morning by yourself or like with the surf team better?
I like both. I do enjoy the time, like getting up early in the morning. If I know the waves are going to be good, I can miss all the traffic, and then I can watch the sunrise. That's my ideal weekend activity. And then going with the surf team, they have beach days on Sundays, so if I can, I try to go and meet them down there. It's just a fun social aspect to it, kind of like Megan said with the climbing, where everybody's just chatting and having a good time.
What about for climbing? Do you have like your specific climbing gym, and it is like the hottest climbing gym in all of downtown LA? There's nowhere else you go to. How does it work?
Well, so you do need to you can't just like go to any climbing gym. You need to pay to have a membership, so that kind of dictates where we go. Personally, at USC, most people belong to the Touchstone family of climbing gyms. So there's one in downtown LA in the Arts District. That one's called LA Boulders. And then there's one in Culver City as well called Cliffs of Id. So we'll go to both of them about equally, just my group that goes, because like it's all about trying different routes and finding fun ones. And between the two gyms, we go 2 to 3 times a week, there's always new routes. So that's what's cool. Like you can try ones that you're working on, and you can try new ones. It's all sort of about finding routes that are fun to you.
So I'm thinking about like the rock climbing I did when I was 7, and there's like the harness, and you have the different like sticky notes on the wall for the different routes. How do you tell what an easy or hard like bouldering course is?
Yes, so they're all graded on the V scale. It's named after, I couldn't tell you the name of the guy who came up with the scale, but they rank boulders from V0 to about V10, maybe. I mean, I haven't done a V10, I can tell you that. But V0, pretty much anyone who hasn't climbed before should be able to at least get partially up those. They're going to have nice holes that you can like grab onto and pull yourself up on those. They're not going to be at an incline at all. You're just going to go straight up. But you're still going like straight up. Yeah, you're still going straight up.
But you're climbing like, it's like you're on a ladder.
Yeah. You're not supposed to just climb up to the top. You're supposed to follow a route that someone set, and that's how they're graded based on difficulty. So
they're setting your path for you.
You can do it many different ways sometimes, but there's usually a set-ish path, and you have to. That's why it's called a problem. Like that's a common term in bouldering.
Problem solving.
Well, it is problem solving.
That's why engineers do it.
Okay. But yeah, no. So like, it's called a bouldering problem, and that's what like the route to the top is called. And then when you do it, you've sent it.
Has anyone ever told you that you have a bouldering problem?
No, you're the first one. Thanks. Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably cut that out later. Some bad jokes, but should we discuss some of the aspects of being an engineer and doing these extreme sports and having the knowledge that we have with some of the physics, kinematics. If you fall from higher up, that means it's gonna hurt a lot more.
What's the force on the ground?
If anyone is a TA and needs some material for some word problems, here we go.
There's a lot of physics in climbing. I mean, I'm such a nerd about engineering that you can't help but think about it. And I mean, it's true. It helps the technique. So, for example, like I mentioned, there's bouldering problems where you're at like an incline where you're literally like almost sideways, and that's going to take a lot more strength than to climb straight up, because you have to hold yourself in your center of gravity like close to the wall. So that's where you can help yourself out. So if you're trying to climb up and you're leaning really far back, then your center of gravity is really far away from the wall, and then you're more likely to fall because you have to use more force to hold yourself up. Whereas if you pull yourself closer to the wall, then your center of gravity might even be above some of the footholds, and then you are not exerting as much energy to keep yourself on the wall. So that's something you have to keep in mind, like, while you're climbing.
You're kind of like a free body diagram.
Yeah. No, actually.
On the rock wall.
And, like, your arms are the wires that attach to the wall. And, like, depending on the angle, there's a different amount of force on different parts of your body. So you have to keep track of that.
So you would be, like, your strength would be, I guess, like a resistance frictional force almost, the tension.
Yeah.
Maybe after a little boot camp, get past 10 push-ups for me. I'll try that.
You don't really need to know how to do push-ups, but pull-ups, yeah.
For surfing, you'll need the push-ups.
Oh, no.
How does physics come into surfing?
Actually, you could go on and on about wave physics. That's a huge area of study that, actually, there's a lot to learn still. But I remember in middle school, I got really into learning about surfboard fins, because there's a ton of different types depending on like how many you're putting on your board.
So how many fins are usually on a surfboard? I didn't even realize there's multiple
So it depends on the length of the board and then what type of board you're riding. So mine is called a thruster. It's 3 fins. And then if you're riding a longer board, like a typical longboard will only have 1 fin on it, and it's a larger one. Like the 3 that I have on my board are fairly small. And then you can also ride a quad, so 4 fins, or you can ride a 5 fin. And people have their preferences. It depends on how long the board is. Yeah, 5
fins.
So like
on
2 side fins and then 1 center one.
So how is it different riding on each of those boards for you because of the fins?
So I prefer a quad setup, even though I'm riding a thruster right now. A quad, I find it to be a lot faster. So the way fins work is actually the same way that airplane airfoils work. Lift and drag play a huge role in your surfboard fin physics. And it's all dependent on the shape and then the airfoil. So
It's just in a different medium, right? With water instead of air, basically. Is that?
Yeah, precisely.
Okay.
And then also just like flipped on its side. And so that's why you actually always want to have the board moving side to side and weaving, as opposed to just going straight, because you're generating lift when you're creating that weaving motion through the water.
I never realized why surfers did that. I kind of always thought
that was just the cool thing to do.
Yeah.
Hopping up and down, you're actually slowing yourself down.
I feel like it's a similar thing in skiing too. So I guess my little tidbit extreme sport that's not particularly extreme would be skiing. That's a similar thing where if you are making a lot of really small fast turns and you're like carving in the snow, which I guess is kind of a similar thing, probably generating a similar force where you're inclining the skis into the snow, so it kind of hooks and then pulls you
accelerating
faster.
Through the turns.
Yeah, that's faster than if you just go like straight down. That's how ski racers shred the slopes up.
Shred it. Shred some gnar.
It's really interesting how it's like kind of just the same.
It's almost like physics is the same throughout everything.
Wow.
What a concept.
What about when you're surfing? So I know Megan and I are both on a Lumen, which is USC's Engineering and Daily Life magazine, where we are student published and student written, and we've had a lot of fun articles on like sports topics.
Those are my
and stuff
favorite
like
articles,
this.
yeah.
We know you like sports, Megan.
I love sports. I love hockey. It's not even playoffs right now.
Who's your team, Megan?
I like the San Jose Sharks. They have a lot of fins.
Wow, full circle to the fins. But I think we've had a couple of surfing articles. I remember something I read, and one of them talked about the difference between like some newer, I think more plasticky, like manufactured surfboards that are just easier to mass produce or something like that, versus like the traditional, like older, I think like wooden surfboard. Or do you ever think about like the material? Does that play a role for you?
When I buy a board, I just buy the standard foam, and I don't know too much about the surfboard foam construction. Like, if you're willing to spend a little bit more money, you can buy a board that's made of epoxy foam, which is a lot lighter and stronger. I don't know why. Something in the material in the foam. But I know people really like those boards for performance reasons. Actually, there's a company, I think they're based in Venice Beach, but they're making surfboards that are even lighter than epoxy, and they're two SpaceX engineers that left the company and then started the surfboard company, so that's pretty cool. Going back to the fins, there's a ton of different materials that they use in those.
Okay.
Honeycomb structures, carbon fiber.
Honeycomb.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So it's all about getting the different rotation when the fins bend. Sometimes you want your fins to be stiffer in some parts or more flexy.
Sounds like you should go into surfboard engineering.
Maybe one day.
Why not?
They do computational fluid dynamics on surfboard fins
Oh,
now.
you love that
Really?
stuff.
Oh yeah, I got really
CFD.
into CFD, yes.
I know the lingo. I was Mechie for a year, so.
I know there was an Illumina article about the wave pool, the Kelly Slater wave
Oh,
pool.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
The
is that
man-made waves.
the quote unquote the perfect wave? Or I don't know if you know much about that.
I mean, it's pretty perfect. It's incredible to see. Some of the surf team members got to go last year and surf it. I unfortunately was out of town and didn't get to go. But that is state-of-the-art technology, and they actually keep it proprietary too. But from what I've heard, it's an airfoil that moves along the bottom of the pool and generates the bulge that later becomes a wave. And it's, I mean, you watch videos of it, it's beautiful, it's perfect. And so that's kind of the beauty of the sport, is that there are all these spots around the world with these quote-unquote perfect waves. And, like, you could try and travel to those places, and everybody's given the same conditions to deal with. And you have to make it work and surf, even if the waves aren't that great.
That's kind of a scary thought, too, though, if they're, like, really, really big waves and you have, like, those dog surfing competitions. I don't know, I always see
in my
those.
hometown in Huntington.
Have you ever been to the, like, any of those? Are the dogs okay? Do they,
I
who
think
teaches them how to
wear
surf?
life jackets.
I hope so.
No. At my home break, there was this one guy that would always paddle out with a little dog on the front of his board, and it would just stand up there while he rode the wave, and it was the cutest thing. And people up on the pier would look down and take pictures.
Aren't they adding surfing to the Olympics
They
next
are.
year? They're adding climbing too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Speed
No,
climbing.
Speed climbing.
Yeah.
I've seen videos of that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So that's just like you have to finish a course as fast as you can.
Yeah. So usually
Are they
they're
like
straight up.
jumping?
Yeah, you should watch videos. It's insane.
They look like spiders.
Yeah.
Spiders. Super.
I watched this video that had Alex Honnold, the guy who did the free solo of El Capitan last year, and he was going against like an actual speed climber, and Alex Honnold was so slow compared to this guy who is training in speed climbing, so it's a completely different skill set.
I'm sure it's hard to apply something like that, though, if you want to like do that solo climbing out on an actual boulder. Like, that would be scary. Just trying to go
that's
really
insane.
fast
I would never do that. Harness. Oh
I
my
think
gosh.
my biggest fear is being stuck on a mountain somewhere, like falling and then having to be helicoptered out.
Or just
like
dying.
all those, or dying. Yeah, not being helicoptered out. That could be,
Podcast
took a turn
is
for the
deep.
worse. I fear death. Well, actually, the human brain blocks out like death as something that happens to you. It just like processes it as an unfortunate event that happens to others. Like we like shield ourselves from the threat of like foreboding unavoidable death. But
The brain is
that's a
weird.
little off.
Have you ever thought about how the brain named itself?
What?
It's the only thing that can study itself.
Like, the brain is called the brain, but someone thought to call the brain the brain.
Maddie's mind is blown right now.
That's wild. So is there climbing gear? Do you have any like engineering considerations?
Sure, so like
going
the shoe
into-
is completely different depending on how good you are. So when you're just starting out, you have, like, you're supposed to wear shoes that are pretty tight on your feet because your point of contact is like at the tip of your foot. So if it's not your foot and the shoe bends, then you are not like on the wall. So that's really important to get a good fit on your shoe. And then from there, the shoes are designed differently based on how good you are. So the ones that have little hooks are usually for better climbers because you, like, not a hook, but just the end is curved because you're going to be on smaller footholds. So you need to have more of a way to, like, actually get your foot on the hold versus when you're just starting out and the holds are usually bigger so you can just have a rounded foot. So yeah, there's a lot of considerations that go into that. There's also chalk. Chalk is chalk, but what chalk does is it dries your hands out so you have a better grip and more friction on the hold. So lots of physics and engineering that goes into different aspects of climbing for sure.
See, people say engineers aren't athletic, but really, how would you do it without engineering?
It's true.
I'm really interested to hear more about some of the social aspects. What have both of your like social experiences been specifically at USC with these sports and like the clubs, or even just like your roommates and like that climbing gym where a lot of people go to?
Yeah, so there's a USC climbing team. They're awesome. Basically, they provide a membership for a discount to the gym that I was talking about, Touchstone. And then they hold practices about twice a week where they'll teach you different skills. So they also hold social events, and they go on trips to outdoor climbing arenas.
So an outdoor climbing arena, is that...
It's just an actual boulder.
It's an actual boulder.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
No.
I was thinking maybe it was like a little roped off outdoor, like, welcome to our
You go to
gym.
an actual boulder, usually one that people have climbed before. So
Okay.
you still have ratings
Hopefully,
on
yeah.
these, like based on how
Okay.
difficult it is, but it's overall more difficult. Like you won't see a V0 in the wild. Like everything's going to be a V3 or harder at least. But yeah, so some of the terms that are involved. So when you complete, so I said earlier, it's a boulder problem. That's what it's called, like a specific route that you do. So that either refers to the whole thing or like a specific move even. Because you have to problem solve it, so that's why it's called a problem. And then when you complete a route, you're supposed to say, oh yeah, I sent that. Like, that's where that terminology comes from.
Full send.
Yeah, someone's like, ooh, good send. And I'm like, okay, that seems a little bit weird. but
Wait. So this is the full send origin story right here, that it
Maybe?
came from bouldering?
I hesitate to
fact
say it
check
comes
this
from
after.
bouldering, but it's
They might
definitely...
have stolen it from surfing.
It might have been stolen
Well,
from surfing. That's
what about
pretty...
skiing?
Okay,
It probably wasn't skiing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the surf vocab words are really the most well-known, like, influential. Like, I definitely have picked up on some, and I do not know how to surf at
Yeah.
all.
I mean, I definitely talk different when I'm around all my surf friends and we start talking about the waves. All the lingo comes out.
What's a good wave? How would you talk about a good, nice wave?
It's hard. You have to do it in the moment.
Oh,
I'd say, yeah, stoked. I definitely use a lot of the terms in my normal...
Can we have it in a sentence, though? Like, I need context for how should I use stoking in the day-to-day vernacular?
Oh, stoking?
Or stoked?
Stoked.
What's the difference?
Or I did really well on my midterm. Like, I'm stoked about the result or something.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, like, that's really easy. I feel like a lot of them are pretty common. Gnarly. I mean, I say dude all the time. Like, if the waves are really good and I show up, I'll call up my friend and go, hey, like, the waves are firing. Like, they're going off right now. Get down here.
the waves are actually watering, not firing.
If somebody they could get barreled, so when the wave goes over them.
I'm thinking barrels. I'm thinking, like, did you all ever play that Donkey Kong game
Yeah.
where someone, like, runs over you with a barrel?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or
It's
like
not...
a Mario Kart.
Nerd alert.
Yeah, the conditions too. So It's glassy. It means that there's no wind. It's blown out. It's really windy. Offshore wind, onshore wind.
What about the surf team culture? How has that been? How has it been?
It's really nice. It's such an inclusive community, and we welcome people of all skill levels. So
you don't need to know how to surf at all?
No, not at all. And my friend Chris, actually, he runs it now, and he's electrical engineering. Yeah, so he actually met him freshman year through the team, and he didn't know how to surf at all. And
wow.
Yeah, one of the guys on the team texted me and said, "Hey, there's this new kid, Chris, and he wants to learn how to surf, just needs a ride down to the beach." And
so you've trained him into his
no,
current presidency.
No, he was just my surfing friend freshman year.
That's
so
fun.
we would just drive down together, and now he runs the team, and he rips. He's a really good surfer now.
Oh, it's another term.
There we go.
Came out, the link he rips. But yeah, so he runs it, and he's been great, and he like bought a bunch of boards for the team, so that way people that join that don't know how and don't have their own gear, they go down to the beach days, and we have these extra boards for them to practice on, and wetsuits. So it's really great. So if you're interested in learning how to surf, join the USU surf team.
I think that would be super fun to learn how to surf. I feel like that's a very classic, like, you're in California going to college in LA for 4 years. When in your life will you have better surfing opportunities? And
I'll teach you.
Better outdoor bouldering too. Got the like Joshua Tree nearby.
A lot of people go up to Tahoe area. Mammoth too. Yeah, that's where a lot of the trips go. But there's a lot of areas that are not that far out. Like, you wouldn't really think about it in LA, but
I think I would be scared to boulder in Mammoth. I'm taking a natural disasters class, and it's like an active volcano.
Oh, my sister, I think she took that class.
It's really just making me think.
You're a natural disaster.
I am. Wow. What about if you all had like a new extreme sport that you wanted to try, or anything at USC that has like really just gotten your interest, that sounds like, even if it's a fun class, like I think you were talking about doing archery.
I want to take the archery class next semester. Yeah.
That sounds fun. I could be down.
I know there's also a sailing class that a couple of my friends have taken.
I know, I think Kelly took that
Kelly
class.
took it.
Yeah.
So like trip to Catalina too.
Yeah.
You just like sail for your class.
But yeah, one other extreme sport that I have done before, but it's hard to get out there, is river rafting. I went a few times when I was younger because my dad really, he wanted this to be like a father-daughter bonding. And it was. We had a really good time because we would camp out and then go river rafting. And it was on the American River up north. That's a fun one too, but I don't think there'll be a club at USC because there's no river rafting that nearby and anything like that. But just whenever I'm in the area, it's a fun activity.
Make a little lazy river in the USC Athletic Center.
Yeah, exactly.
Who needs the Olympic-sized pool if we have a lazy river? What about you, Sam?
Actually, yeah, since early high school, I wanted to try kite surfing. And I just never had the chance to learn, and it's hard. But this past summer, I saved up some money from work, and it's like, okay, I'm going to try kite surfing. And I did, and it was so much fun. It's extremely difficult. It took me about a week of spending 3 hours a day on the sand, just flying the kite around and trying to figure out how to do loops and control it in the wind and how to get power.
3 hours every day for a week just to figure out how
I'll go after work.
Wow.
Take lessons. And then I finally got in the water a couple times before the end of the summer, and it was such a thrill. It felt like when I first started surfing and I stood up for the first time, I knew I was really bad, but I was so excited about like how much there was to learn and improve on, and it was just such a blast.
There's, I think it's called like the flow zone when you're
flow state?
doing a sport, or the flow state, that your brain is like just in a really happy state when you're mastering like a hobby or sport for the first time. Such a good stress reliever too in the middle of midterm season or anything else.
I was going to say, is there a flow state for fluid dynamics?
Oh, no.
Oh.
Oh, no.
We're cutting that one, Megan. No, I'm kidding. Well, yeah, I think on that bad flow zone joke, I think we can end it here.
And we're back, and this was awesome. So, surfing, rock climbing, skiing, and snowboarding. Now, you didn't talk about it a lot, but you are a skier, right, Maddie?
Yes, I am a skier. I actually was even on the alpine ski team in 4th grade.
What?
So,
Fourth.
well, it was 4th through 6th. It was while I was, because I lived in Utah during that time.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you've been skiing almost your entire life?
Yeah, almost. Yeah, I would say, I think even since 3rd grade, and I've gone back at least every year during the holidays to ski.
When you came to USC, was this always a thing that you were going to definitely stay involved in skiing? You wanted to get on the skiing team?
I actually, the first couple of years that I was in California, I would say it never even occurred to me, because I think you really get a mindset of when you're in Utah with the powder, you don't really want to ski anywhere else. And it's kind of like, I was a little bit of a snob, I'm not going to lie. And then I actually tried skiing at Mammoth with my friends over spring break one time. And it was probably the best skiing that I had in like so many, like it was better than Utah for sure.
Better than Park City?
Well, I don't go to Park City, but I do go to what I consider to be like a really good ski resort. And I would say, and maybe it was also just skiing with friends and like the fun of it, but
Right.
I thought it was at least on that level, if not better.
Okay, Colorado, weigh in here.
Yeah,
I'm kind of in the same camp as Maddie. I've never skied in California. I've only ever skied in Colorado. But kind of same. I mean, I've been skiing my whole life.
But you haven't skied while you're out here?
No, because it's honestly easier
It's
for me
just
to
stuff back
fly
home.
home than for
And
me
bring your
to
skis
drive to Mammoth.
Is it a little bit the doubt
It's
though?
a
Because I
4-hour
definitely
drive.
doubted Mammoth.
It's a 2-hour flight.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Mammoth is pretty great.
Yeah.
I do want to go eventually.
Mammoth is pretty great.
Yeah. I'll try it.
I mean, do you have, not to get too in the weeds here, but do you have an Icon Pass?
No, I have
Back
an
home?
Epic Pass.
Oh, see, they switched to Icon.
Yeah.
Mm.
I
But
heard
Epic
that,
is Big Bear, though.
Mm-mm.
Isn't it?
Icon's Big Bear.
Oh.
Yeah.
I heard Epic gets you to Whistler, I think.
Yeah.
Going full circle back to Seattle, I guess.
Yes.
There you go.
That's where some of my friends have mentioned skiing.
Yeah, definitely. I do want to branch out though, but I haven't. But yeah.
So if students want to get involved in the ski and snowboard team here, first they should recognize team doesn't necessarily mean they have to be competitive, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's actually 2 different parts, I guess I would say, of the ski team. So you can be on the actual racing team. And if you're on the racing team, then you're competing. But even that is not...
It's fun, right?
It's fun. It's not as competitive and as intense as you would think, just by it being, like a college ski competition. In my mind, I was like, oh my gosh, I could never do that. But there's people who really don't have that much experience. They just really do it to meet other teams and have fun.
Mm-hmm. Really cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I think a cool part of this episode for me too was sort of themes like that where Megan and Sam, like through climbing and surfing respectively, like it seemed like both of them obviously loved the sports, but it was really the community they got out of it that was
Right.
maybe most valuable.
Because someone like Sam, who's been surfing almost her entire life and is somewhat of a pro, can go on the surf team and get really involved and be really into it. But someone like Megan, who's never rock climbed before, can join the rock climbing team and just learn how to. And they both find that level of community. And so I think people should recognize that if they've never done anything before, this is a great opportunity to try it. And there's no better place than college just to try something, especially when you have all these opportunities here. A lot of people, like, they come from Utah and they don't think skiing is in California. There's some great skiing opportunities.
Absolutely.
Here.
I think it's even really cool too how you can have those 2 different perspectives of like being a teacher. Like I know I want to teach some of my friends to ski, and then you can also have your friends teach you a new sport. Like Sam has been talking about teaching me and Megan how to surf.
Yeah, you got it. Now after this episode, you got to go do it now.
I have to. Now I'm really held accountable if I don't go surf in the next week or two.
Episode.
Do a follow-up episode. Yeah, we should take the mics down to the beach, like see how you actually do. I think that'll be fun.
That would be good.
Well, I definitely wouldn't complain about that. A little live action podcast.
It's still warm. I was at the beach this weekend. It's nice and warm right now in November.
Yeah. It's warm outside right now.
I think it was like 85 this weekend. I was sweating.
it's
It is
hot.
76 degrees right now.
Out Southern California,
This is
right?
great. Water's a little cold, but that's okay. It's always cold.
Yeah.
Well,
But
cool.
yeah, super cool.
Yeah.
I think too, it was interesting hearing about how like the engineering part came through. It seemed like, I know we talked about this a little bit before too, where maybe it was a little planned, but you can tell that maybe that drives the passion for both of them a little bit too, kind of understanding like the materials the surfboard's made out of, or how you can, the perfect wave. And it's cool to sort of be able to elevate your sport by having that understanding.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think even if you don't think that you're taking the engineering into account, that's something that all three of us realized as we were talking the whole time, that we really do all of our activities thinking about things that just are like basic engineering and dynamic theories that was really interesting for us to discover.
When you're going down the slopes, are you actually thinking about that?
Well, I'm thinking about how I'm carving my skis into the snow and like the shape it makes and the way that your skis like hook onto the snow, and turning actually makes you go faster than if you go straight down the hill. That's why like professional ski racers do the really fast like little turns a lot of times because the snow like hooks onto your ski. But anyways, yeah, I do think about that, and that at its core is engineering, whether or not I'm realizing it in my mind while I'm like, I'm engineering my ski vacation.
Yeah.
No.
But I think like kind of what you're getting at, I mean, in my mind, becoming an engineer is really developing like sort of an intuition where you can kind of maybe understand things without doing hand calculations or whatever. So, you know, I think this is kind of like the perfect example of that. All of you guys are seniors in different fields of engineering, and obviously it's mostly for fun, but you can think about those things while you do it, which is cool.
Yeah. I think whether or not you realize it, engineering really does change the way that you just think about day-to-day things.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
So Audrey, given this episode, you have a year and a half left in college.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
What are you going to try that's new? So if Maddie's going to try surfing,
I know.
what are you going to try?
Well, actually, I'm also friends with Sam, and she has been telling me that I also need to learn to surf. But I have tried to learn to surf, and I am not
But you've never been taught by Sam.
That's true. So maybe this is the time.
It sounds like that could be the
That's
follow-up
the
we were
follow-up
talking
episode.
about.
I think we
Sam
need-
teaches us all how to
Listeners, get on the email.
Yes.
Start getting all over everything. Start getting demand the follow-up episode. Audrey and Maddie learn to surf.
Like
Let's
engineering gone wrong.
Yeah, we'll see if I can make it out alive from that one.
How to not catch a wave.
We'll get some video cameras out there. Watch you catch the wave. See if it works. It'll be fun.
We can try it. We can try it for
I
sure.
don't know. We need to demand the episode. Demand the follow-up.
The audience has spoken.
All right. So with that, everybody out there, you know what you need to do. Demand the follow-up episode. And anything else you all want to talk about?
I don't think so. What about for you, Paul?
There's nothing from me right now.
Really?
No. I mean,
Oh.
I'm tired.
Okay. I'm okay with it.
It's been a long day today.
This is hour 7 of back-to-back meetings. So I'm like, I saw you guys at 7.
We did.
It's now 1:30. No, so I'm in 6.5 hours now of back-to-back-to-back.
Oh gosh. Well,
And I'm going
hopefully.
to go into something else after this.
Uh-oh.
Maybe
Well,
you should learn how to surf too. It'll be
Yeah.
a stress relief.
I got time. Let's go
Yeah.
do that today. That
Right
would be
now.
fun.
Let's
That would
go.
be a lot of fun. I got a lot of fun. No, there's nothing going on right now. I mean, I think that if anyone's out there and they haven't applied yet, the application deadline is for first-year students January 15th, and the transfer deadline is February 1st. And if there's ever any questions or anything else, you know how to get a hold of us. Go to our website, viterbiadmission.usc.edu. Give us a call at 213-740-4530. Send us an email at vadmit@usc.edu, or on our website, there's a web chat function when we're in the office, and we usually respond right away. So
Awesome.
we'll get out of the way.
Sounds good. Thank you.